everyone time in front of you that open up possibilities. And because someone may, if you only have one podcast listener, but that podcast listener is like, wow, that's great, and gets a hold of you, and your life goes off in another different direction. But you have to try. You have to try.
Yeah, well, you don't have to. You could just drone on. But I would recommend not doing that.
I would also suggest that you and I and everyone has an interest in not allowing people to drone on too much, because for the same reason I talked about we did a Common Sense show once called The Revenge of the Gangrenous Finger. And the idea was that, if you ignore people in your society that aren't doing well long enough, it's a little like saying, yes, my finger has gangrene, but it's the little one, so who the hell cares? But eventually, if you ignore it long enough, it'll poison your bloodstream and destroy the body itself. If you have enough people in soul-crushing situations who can't, a guy called me once on the radio when I was preaching revolution in the middle 1990s and said, you're an idiot. He said, you're an idiot because no one's going to face the bayonets as long as they have enough food in their bellies and they're doing halfway okay. But of course, the implication there is if they don't have food in their bellies and they're not doing okay, then all bets are off. We all have a vested interest in seeing that more of our countrymen do better, because it's better for the society as a whole, creates a better world for your kids, happier. I mean, there's so many. And the one thing about our system, people talk about patriotism all the time. But to me, the real patriotism is saying we've created a system here. It works this way. It encourages people to go do these things. So if the system's designed and set up for that, you ought to give it a try. You ought to just see.
Yeah, and the suggestion that I always give to people is write down things that you want to try to accomplish. Just write them down.
Well, a guy said to me, he said, write the way you want your obituary to appear now. Sit down, write your obituary. He says, because that'll show you how far off your goals you are.
Well, here's a better one. Pretend there's a documentary crew filming your success story, and they're following you around right now. What would you do? What would you do if you knew that there was a crew following you around with cameras documenting your future incredible success, and they want to catch you in the act of it all? You would do all the right things you would have to do. Think about that, organize it. But we are saddled down by so many doubts and so much just mental shit that keeps people from action. I just feel like people need inspiration and they need guidelines. And if as long as you could just start moving, just get action, like just movement, get something.
That's what I said,
going.
Verb. You got it. Yeah. And folks, listen, that's the one thing to really take out of this is that just try and see what happens. And my stepfather had a great line. He said, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to think about that to realize if you're scared about failure, don't be scared about the greatest in the world have failed. If you're worried about going into debt, I understand that.
Don't be scared of failure. I think failure is awesome for you. And that's one of the reasons why, like I said, I like doing things that I suck at. You could get real complacent if you're really good at something and you only do that thing all the time.
I agree with that. And you're not growing anymore.
Yeah, you're just not challenged. You're not at the bottom of the heap. If you start jiu-jitsu right now and you're a white belt, you're like, oh God, how could I ever get good at this? And it's humbling. But in that humbling thing, you learn about yourself, you learn about discipline, and you build up that engine, that muscle that is trying to work things out and figure things out.
You're creating a more formidable you.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.